Alright guys, Tactical here again today, and sorry I didn't upload yesterday, but I was busy making a video with Chris Tunn over at the EGL channel. We talked about the rosters that are on the fringe of making it into the Pro League and potentially making pools for Vegas. So if you're interested to watch that, see that down in the description box below. Hopefully I'll get Tunn on this channel in the next couple of days so I can return the favour. Today I want to talk about Censor. He's retired from competitive Call of Duty. He announced it a few days ago, so I guess I'm a little bit late to the party, but I haven't really been seeing people talk about it that much, so I thought I'd mention it today. I'll link his retiring video down in the description box below if you guys are interested to watch it. And effectively a too long don't read, too long don't watch, you could say, is that he's retired from competitive Call of Duty. He would have kept competing if he could find a team that he wanted, but he couldn't get on the Evil Geniuses team. We'll talk about that in a second. And the guys on FaZe don't want to team with him in the current situation, but he would potentially team with them in the future. Effectively, his life is just way too stressful, given the pressure of trying to become the best in the game, in addition to the crazy success he has on YouTube. And it was just too much at once, and it makes more sense for him to retire at this current time. But he has taken breaks from Call of Duty in the past, and maybe there is a chance for him to return in the foreseeable future. So like if you enjoy, subscribe if you're new, but I want to talk about where exactly he goes from here and the potential moves he could have had. So he talks in his video about this new Evil Geniuses roster. He was planned to be on the lineup. So that team was Royalty, Goonjar, Saints, and Lacefield. And they brought in FeLony after JCap was unexpectedly dropped from LG. So JCap was released from LG. JCap goes into E United to replace FeLony, and now FeLony's a free agent. He ends up slotting into Evil Geniuses, knocking Doug down to the next rank, which in his case is not having a team at all. So he could have been on that squad. In my opinion, it's an interesting situation because Censor, he doesn't put up the best stat lines, right? At least in recent times, he's had a historic career. We'll talk more about his actual achievements over time in a second. But, you know, this year especially, it's not like he was putting up crazy numbers, but he does add an element of leadership that I think that EG team was definitely missing. So, if we look at Lightning Pandas this year, he was on Lightning Pandas for one event at Birmingham, and was planning to go back to Evil Geniuses alongside Goonjar and Royalty that he was teaming with on this squad. And this was actually LP's best result of the entire year if you ignore this Canadian Championship Series and none of the good teams are really there. I was at Birmingham and I watched a lot of these guys match. I was actually refereeing their match against FaZe, where Doug actually took down FaZe Clan, of course his overarching team. He's still FaZe Censor, still produces content for that clan, but not playing on their team this year. He did also say in the video that if he had an offer from FaZe sometime in the future, he would definitely go and play competitive Call of Duty for them, but as of right now, he says he doesn't really have the players that believe in him in order to make that work. So when I was refereeing this match, Doug was all the communication on this team. Royalty doesn't say too much. Zodic was saying things here or there. Goonjar, to me, even though he's a veteran, it doesn't really act like a leader or a talisman, someone like that. Doug was that guy, man. He was calling everything out. He got the vibes flowing for the team, hyping up his boys, the ultimate gas man. I think that's something that the scene will miss. I think it's very interesting that Evil Geniuses went with FeLony over some guy like Censor. Okay, FeLony, as Tunn said in a video that we talked about these kind of level rosters yesterday, he said that FeLony's not exactly lighting the world on fire, is he? Last year, if we look at the stats, this is courtesy of CoDcomStats.com, you see I'm already trained at the bottom for Censor down at a 0.83, but we don't have to scroll up too far to find FeLony at a 0.94. Yes, okay, it's significantly better, but is the slaying power what that roster really needs? In my opinion, you look at Evil Geniuses, okay, Saints and Lacefield, really strong SMGs. Goonjar's not incredible with an assault rifle. Then you've got Royalty, potentially a huge talent. So that team is not going to be competing for being the best in the world on the basis of firepower. So I feel like it made way more sense bringing a guy like Censor, who can lead the team from the back even if he's not putting up the best numbers. And he also has a lot of winning experience. Like, Censor's been around for so long. These other guys in the Evil Geniuses squad, okay, they've, you know, Saints has won a couple of events. Goonjar's been around a long time, but I thought Censor would have fit in there better than FeLony, and we'll have to see how this roster does now. Another option for Censor, which may have been on the table, this is just something I saw people talking about, maybe this team doesn't appeal to him at all, but it was the new Splice Halo team. So, the reigning Halo World Champions, I believe, the Splice team, like Renegade, Shotzi, I think, those players, they're now on Splice competing in Call of Duty this year, in addition to the normal Splice roster, which is the Accuracy, Temp, Aqua, Looney, and Jerd team. So one of the Halo players, I believe it's Shotzi, he's not actually 18 yet, so he's effectively going to have to sit this entire year out, because by the time he's 18 it'll be Stage 2 playoffs and champs, so there's unlikely that he's going to be competing at those for his first events. So the other three guys are teaming with Teddy Rex and Rambi Bambi on the Splice Halo Academy, whatever they're exactly calling their team. I'll talk more about this in a video I'm going to do in a day or so on Halo players coming into Call of Duty. But surely a team with three guys who've never really played CoD before, don't really understand the ropes, but have incredible talent on the sticks. Someone like Censor, some kind of leader, someone who has experience would have fit so nicely into that squad. Instead of bringing in Teddy Rex and Rambi Bambi, who have effectively been S&D stars, they don't have any experience of winning or being at the top. Are you getting your winning experience from the Halo players who have done it in a completely different game? Maybe that's what they're going for, but I don't see that having too much success. So look, Doug doesn't get on a team. I think to some extent this is a loss for Call of Duty, at least in competitive, because he has a huge following. Let's have a look at his followers on Twitter here. 1.35 million Twitter followers. Like, this guy is cracked out. Also a really inspirational guy as well, and having these kind of followers with the potential to watch competitive Call of Duty is, I guess, something of a loss, but he did say in his retirement video that he's definitely going to be streaming Black Ops 4 like all the time, playing Blackout, other things like that. So at least the commitment to Call of Duty will still be there, but doesn't really have the time and the commitment to play it in a competitive setting anymore. He said it was just too stressful, which I completely understand with everything else going on in his life, but won't talk too much about the personal things. So these are Censor's achievements throughout his career. Towards the end of the year, he goes into this Complexity team, which really wasn't very good, despite Dashi being a monster. Top 16s really all the way through, so not the best finish to Censor's career, but he gave it a good go. Ricky and Blast, I'll just touch on them for a second. Supposedly they're going to go and team with Facento, Decimate, and Chino. That's going to be a team that will also make pools based on the amount of pro points they would have. And Censor had a fair few pro points as well that he could have brought into another team, but, you know, by his own words, he doesn't really want to come into a team unless he thinks it really has the potential to be top tier, which completely makes sense for someone who's played for this long. So, we have to scroll down a long way to the start of his career. Back in Black Ops 1, Censor was playing. He won the National Championship 2011 in Black Ops 1 with Vengeance, Virus, and Mutation. Of course, so long ago, he must have been like 17 at the time or something like that. Makes his way through so many different organisations, winning tournaments here or there. Gets onto FaZe, of course, with Apathy, Haggy, and Karma. Wins a few events throughout. Ghost, Advanced Warfare, won a couple. Then after Advanced Warfare Champs, this is when he retires from Call of Duty. I think this is about when his YouTube was starting to blow up. He was getting crazy money on the side. So he didn't play the rest of Advanced Warfare. The same thing kind of happened in Black Ops 3 where did they fail to qualify for Stage 1? So he plays one event at Orlando at the end of Black Ops 3, sits the whole of Infinite Warfare out, then he comes back for the entirety of the World War II season, and now he's back out the door again. So he says his involvement with Call of Duty will still be there, still be playing the game and all that stuff, and he'll still be invested, I guess, in the competitive scene, interested how his friends are doing, and, you know, he obviously is a very competitive guy, loves the scene. Interesting to see whether he'll come as like an analyst or a coach or something like that, because I feel like as a coach he could probably add a lot to a team. Maybe he ends up on the analysis desk or something like that, because I believe at Infinite Warfare Champs, after it was over, they had Censor on the Overtime show or whatever it was called, that awfully cringy show at the end, but, you know, Censor was there, he was talking. And maybe just being at that event was the thing that inspired him to come back for the next season. So maybe Doug is too much of a competitive guy to be able to go along to an event and talk about it without just rip-roaring to get himself back inside the lobby. But maybe that's something that could happen in future. So I'd be interested to hear your guys' thoughts. Do you think Censor's a massive loss to the community? Of course, didn't have the craziest stats this season, but he's a big name. And probably his external situation with Yannick Garcia was probably the biggest story for competitive Call of Duty that we had for, you know, the outside world. So I think it's potentially a loss for getting fans into competitive Call of Duty, but it definitely makes complete sense for him and his situation. And I wonder whether we'll see him back on a team, like in the past where Parasite is retired and then he comes back a few weeks later when they get something of an offer. But most of the teams are set in stone at this point. If he comes back a few months into Black Ops 4, I would be somewhat surprised. No one thought he was going to have any success coming back in the World War II season, and, you know, he proved a lot of people wrong, so who knows, maybe he could do it again. So, like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, thank you guys so much for watching as always, and I'll see you next time.